We're back. Cantina Chronicles. This week we're down in the depths of Metagos, talking Mace Windu. That's the main event, Mace Windu.
Yeah.
But before we do that, a certain trailer dropped.
And, just a few hours ago, right?
Yeah, and I just watched it. I think we all just watched it for Skeleton Crew. Very cool stuff.
Yes, very excited about this. Did not see this coming, but did we have a release date on this? We now have one. It's December 3rd. Did we know that? Because that feels like news to me.
We did.
Oh, right.
I think the big news, and not that it's actually news because it's how they do it now, is that they are doing the 2-episode drop premiere, which is the thing. Which again, not surprising because that's what they have been doing with pretty much everything, which I love.
And we think this is going to just be an eight banger, probably just 8 episodes.
Yeah, I believe it is. I think it's 8 eps. Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah. Cool. Well, this was a different trailer. They went with a classic 80s song that I should have the name for here.
It's Major Tom is the name of the song.
But
Coming Home.
Okay.
But yeah, not that.
Yeah,
no,
different Major Tom.
So this is the whole confusing thing.
You.
So Bowie's song is Space Oddity.
Right.
That you think of, where he's singing to Major Tom. Then in the 80s, a German synthwave band or person, Peter Schilling, in German, created a response song called Major Tom Coming Home. And that's the 80s thing. That's why it's so confusing.
Wave.
And then,
So
it
was very Stranger Things
sort
of at the start, and then it sort of jumped into this blockbuster mode where it was just constant set piece action and adventure and peril for the kids, which was super cool. And we got a lot of new alien characters, which was huge for me.
Human characters too, like you said before, Grant. We got Space Dad.
Oh yeah, we got Space Dad. Which
I
think the first thing I said while watching the trailer was, "I love Space Dad."
Good to know the character.
Space Dad is I relate deeply.
Exactly. It's good to know from the jump the number one character I'm going to be relating with through this entire show.
Thank you for being there, Space Dad.
Yeah.
But
the internet's
kind of character.
Yep. Lots of new characters. A lot more of the droid, right? Yeah. A lot more of the droid character. Yeah.
Can I just tell you my general
right? I think.
Yeah. So this thing's essentially a month away. I'm kind of on, and I guess this is probably bad for a podcast that sort of reviews Star Wars things, but I'm not in the let's see what we can glean from this. I'm more okay, that's cool, but I'm looking sort of through, my slitted fingers and sort of I don't want to know too much right now. I don't want too much given away.
I did not watch very closely for that reason. I watched it to get the vibe, and similarly, and I think this kind of we'll get a little bit of this in a moment, but relates a bit to our conversation last week, right? Grant and I are kind of we just want to be taken for a ride, and I think you're on that same thing. And I don't want to. I also don't feel like it's going to be a show that's going to be worth parsing apart for lore. Right. It may be there, but I think it's just going to be a ride. It's going to be an ambulance. It's going to be all
I think it will.
We know a little bit more about Jude Law's character as well from this trailer. A lot, basically, is trying to make a deal with the kids, and I'm just he's trying to make. Why isn't he just in a utilitarian way just helping them?
Right.
That was kind of upsetting to me. I was this is a pirate character. There's something.
Yeah.
No, this we know a little bit more about his alignment. I feel like.
Yeah, or lack thereov, because it made me sort of wary of Jude Law's character. This thing, I was instantly just got weird vibes off him.
See, I'm less wary of him now because of the weird vibes, because I feel like it's such just a misdirect.
Right.
Then this guy is good aligned, perfectly good aligned, and this is the whole thing.
That's so funny.
He's coded
because he's playing undercover.
Gotta reverse it.
Adam, I love that your knee jerk reaction is aha, that's what you want me to think.
Exactly.
You can't do that
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Then Ben's Occam's razor, and it comes true, and we're just no way.
Always. Ben's right. Ben's got it in one. Yeah.
The other thing, just go back to the planet and defeat Moff Gideon, and I was just yeah, I guess. And then you just have it.
Yeah, you're if you want to be boring, but what about the no, what was she? She was the armor.
No, I don't even know if that's a real example.
Yeah, the armor.
The spy. You're no, the armor is the spy.
It
was both of you.
What were we saying at that time?
I'm still waiting for the heel turn for the armor. It's going to happen in season 4, I'm telling you.
Adam and I are waiting for the Death Watch resurgence or whatever. I don't know what we're waiting.
Yeah. No, totally. I loved all of our theories.
You guys are the best.
I liked what they gave us, but I love our theories too. So before we came on, I wanted to verify that they were singing in Huttese, the Major Tom, which it is Huttese that they're singing in.
Oh, good for you. Good for you,
Yeah,
Adam.
just because I want to get my stuff. But then I accidentally interacted with the internet for about 5 minutes, and I hate the world because the internet is a fire of just like, I can't believe they're doing a major fun song, like a real world song.
Really?
And everyone's
in a trailer.
That's the thing, people. It's not going to be in the movie, and you know if it's in the movie.
First of all, that's like the number one studio sought song for
exactly.
Kids
it's
anything.
everything.
It's like Bowie's.
Yeah.
Carly was a little put off by it too. That's really funny. Carly was watching it, and she's like, and she loves the '80s and she loves that music, but she was just like, why is this in a Star Wars? And then about 30 seconds, and she's like, I don't know, this looks great.
Yeah.
She was like immediately like, I'm over. I love it.
It's so great.
And I mean, I got a moment where I was like, easy, careful there, buddy.
It threw me.
Careful there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I was like, no, this song slaps, and this is pretty cool already.
It's so good.
It's very good.
Well, it does exactly what we want in a trailer, right? It sets the tone of the entire thing. I'm like, it's totally Amblin. I'm on board for this. I want my Goonies in space. It's great.
Yeah,
love it.
Practical creatures too, which creature effects, creature making, which was awesome. That was really cool to see.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So I missed you guys last
say
week. You guys had a fun pod. Got some notes from some of our listeners that. A lot of Frank Herbert talk for a Star Wars podcast. Just saying, but okay.
When you guys 10 second
really?
head skip, I'm just kidding. So
I feel like we veered into Brian
head
Herbert
skips button is for.
Yeah, and but when you guys talked about those 20 minutes you talked about Star Wars were great.
Hey, we always brought back to Star Wars.
You did. No, you were talking,
and we specifically said this is your fault for not being there.
Yes. Yeah. Great. Well, justice served. But you did.
How do we do with record keeping? Like fact checking in the Jedi archives.
One big drop. Kathleen Kennedy said definitively that every feature film Star Wars heretofore will have a crawl.
All right.
So
that's dumb, but okay.
Okay.
Wait, after the podcast where we were like every Star Wars film should have a crawl, that's like what's happening.
No, I think we talked about I think some
you were debating whether the Rey movie should have a crawl or not.
The Rey should.
Oh, it should. Yeah, I think we came to the idea that yes,
you did
something.
But I was like, well, good news because I guess I thought we had talked about that quote, but it's a bold one.
I'm sure we talk about a lot of things.
Like 2 years
ago. Here's my statement is I think having a crawl before the Mandalorian movie will actually be a negative. It will make it feel less like a Mandalorian movie in a weird way. Like I don't like that. Like I don't want to crawl in front of my Mandalorian movie.
Fair.
So I have notes. I'm gonna write an angry email to Kathleen Kennedy.
You haven't even seen it yet, and you're already like, no way. That's my childhood.
No. Exactly, and I heard a 80s song in a Star Wars, and I got angry. I'm now turning into the thing I hate.
That
the
sounds
most.
fair. You know what you guys got super right though was Stephen Knight getting catapulted. Like
that was wild. We called that the night before it happened.
It wasn't even 12 hours later that they reported that Stephen Knight was
because we're over here. I'm writing down like Rey movie ideas from my notes on my phone. Like I hope he's doing that. Like I don't. Whoever's involved, I just hope they really care about her.
Yeah, I really appreciated you saying that. I love the pod, man. I was just sitting there in my car being like, oh, this is awesome.
Nice. But, that's good. We try to like at least broach some topics that I feel like I don't hear.
No, and you went like deep into the having the writer from Agatha do that would be a great pull. And it's like, if she likes Star Wars, that'd be awesome.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. But I'm hoping for that too. Just finished.
We might talk the finale at the end here if you stick around.
Yeah.
It's also the release night of the new set of Star Wars Unlimited, which we keep our fingers on the pulse of Star Wars, and so we are representing that tonight by just opening packs throughout the.
I was gonna say, if you hear crinkling in the background,
if you hear any crinkling, they're paper packs. I apologize. I'll probably turn myself down a little bit, but we'll be opening all night. If we get a Mace Windu, hopefully we're trying to get Mace Windu tonight. Yeah. We're trying to get Mace Windu showcase because we were celebrating Mace Windu with a novel review, which was really fun novel, honestly.
Yeah. I love the Glass Abyss. We will get there. I think there was a couple other things. You guys were talking about maybe this should be like an end of the pod thing. This is like so end of the pod stuff. But you're talking about like Sith, like why wasn't like Kylo Ren a Sith? And I think the answer to that, in my humble opinion, is that they were dancing that delicate dance of like, we can't take away from Anakin / Darth Vader's accomplishments in destroying the Sith, And it's like,
oh, interesting. Yeah.
So it's like, in order to give proper credence to Vader, do the Sith need to be gone forever? And so we can kind of credit Anakin / Rey for doing that.
Yeah. Right. It is. I get that. I like that. And the other thing too, I was thinking a little more about is just like, which I would say, let's just give benefit of the doubt that they knew it was Sidious all along. Sidious would probably be very much trying to put the kibosh on giving a Sith title out, because that raises this idea of just like, everyone knows what the Sith are now, and people are going to start sniffing around if we start using Sith again, right? So he probably told his homunculus to not use the Sith title, and then Kylo just didn't do it.
Palpatine's got pride, but he's also got intelligence. He's not.
Yeah. Right.
He's probably going to cover up the fact that the Sith are out there, or he's plotting as the sort of Sith Eternal or whatever.
Yeah, I know. It is kind of weird because I don't even think, other than like saying Sith Eternal, like he was never looking for another protege. He was like, he wanted to hand over, but he never used it as like, you will be the leader of the Sith, the new master of the Sith. I don't think. Not that I remember.
Because he wanted to body swap.
Yeah,
like he basically
ultimately
wanted to pull a Freaky Friday, like with someone.
Yeah. Still unclear. Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah.
What else you got?
I guess, no, I'm not going to talk anymore about Agatha, but I do think that's a great match. It's like her flip, like that stuff. As I was writing down notes, you were talking about it perfectly. So, the weird pillar. That was cool. I like that. I was thinking about maybe we do, and this is like more inside baseball, but we do a pillars episode of all the pillars, and we do that sort of like periodically as they sort of change,
kind of reevaluate
after we get like new stuff.
I like that.
That way they're not spread all over the ether, because I'm really proud of our pillars work, and and I feel like it's something we should sort of touch on all of them and just sort of do them all quickly again. It'd be kind of fun every like year or so.
Star Wars needs to slow down on the content.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like we could have a couple shows come out, and like maybe after Skeleton Crew, that would be a good time to do one. But
yeah, we got some time too, because we can let comics pile up a little bit. Yeah. Like especially now they're actually slowing down. The number of comics coming out, it's going to slow down, like we talked about last week. So we'll have some space for sure.
Yeah.
The Insurgency Rising comics are spectacular. That's like, if I was to recommend something from Star Wars in the last month, I would probably recommend those comics.
Great.
Yeah, agreed.
And really good. And Star Wars Unlimited, if you aren't playing it.
Yeah. I can't wait to see that. That's going to be a good one. I think I had an idea for Mangled, because you were like, I loved how both of you suddenly were like, I don't want to touch that film. Like I wouldn't work on that film.
No, he could not pay. Still couldn't pay.
Yeah. But I'm reading the Silmarillion right now, and I'm like, I wonder if there's.
You're primed. You're primed.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm wondering if
you just want to see elves walking out of the lake. Like that's all you want to see.
Kind of, because like, isn't this really? This will be Star Wars Silmarillion. I mean, or Fire and Blood. Like this is their like ancestral thing. I mean, that is a huge undertaking. And I mean, it's like, I'd like to have most of the things like hyperspace travel already established, droids already established. I don't want it to be too prehistoric.
I bet you the Force isn't called the Force in that film.
Oh, not at all.
No,
I bet it's called some other cultural word that's sort of on maybe specific to some planet where it's like they all know about this thing, and
which is like connected to the book we're going to talk about today. We see that a lot. They're playing around with that a lot. Like when we saw like all of the High Republic stuff, right? There's a lot of different Force users who don't even call it necessarily the Force. So I think that's a good call. Yeah.
I think
Mangold join the web.
Right. Mangold said that like you probably won't hear the word Jedi. Like you might not hear the word Jedi in Dawn of the Jedi.
I
agree. Yeah, that makes sense.
On a planet. What if it's like a very planet-specific story, and it's these two interesting, different cultures on the planet, and then it's like maybe Jedi is something there. You know what I mean? And we get.
Yeah.
It's like a paragon, like Adam talked about last week. It's sort of the ultimate.
I mean, what if it's just their word for samurai, or their cultural version of samurai, right? Yeah. And then they start tapping into this Force, and then But
I'd love to see like grand features, like maybe massive gods, or like vacuum of space creatures like Suma Verminoths everywhere, and like I don't know, just something to make it really grand and wild.
Please, I need fewer Sumo
Yeah.
Verminoth at this point. I got an overload in the comics. I'm good. Like
by the time it comes out,
I'm good.
Powerful.
Yeah. I don't know. That's
like I'm not a huge like space creature person, except for like an Exegorth always works for me. Like honestly, that always works. For me. I don't know why. It's like I'm a thing in asteroid that eats you. Like that's fine.
Here's what I will say is that last time I was at Disney, I don't know which Disney. I go to Disney too much. I went on Star Tours, and they had a segment from Ahsoka, and it was flying amongst the Purgle.
Fun.
Oh, cool.
I am now so pro Purgle after going through that thing, because they're like, to be in like space and like in 3D, they're like, Purgles. Like I really felt it. Like I was like, I might have actually got choked up for a second. Like it really hit me.
What do we got here? Grant, it's reversed.
Mr. Bones.
It's
Mr. Bones.
Oh, Mr. Bones.
Wow.
I love me some.
Mr. Bones is a sequel character.
He's like a deep cut novel character, and he's in this game.
Yeah, I mean he's post episode, right? Because he's it's post. He's like somewhere around
Aftermath. Yeah.
Like
that. I don't know.
Oh man, I like having Mr. Bones around.
Yeah, it's going right in the Kylo deck.
Yeah.
There we go. The aggro.
Nice, man. Rad. We might get some Mr. Bones in the comic, right? In the Battle of Jedha.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
You mean Jakku?
Jakku, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right, that was it. Sense. That was all the things I wanted to put in there. Thanks for humoring me.
Ready to go to the Great Wheel?
I have one random story. This will be quick, but I just wanted to this is under a file under. Did we already know this? Is the title of this thing? So on StarWars.com, they were interviewing Ian McKeag, who is like one of the
concept art.
Who worked on episode 1. It's like one of the people that was one of the concept designers on episode 1.
Invented Maul,
all these people. It's a great interview. It's long. It talks a lot about stuff. I skimmed a lot of it, but I zeroed in. Did we know that that George's original plan, like right before shooting, was to that okay, how am I gonna say this? That Qui-Gon was actually Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was actually Qui-Gon, and then when Obi-Wan dies, Qui-Gon takes Obi-Wan's name.
Whoa.
Is that something we all, because he just drops that, and I haven't seen it anywhere else.
The original trilogy and the prequels are so different.
Because imagine if that's
was on Kashyyyk and he's hanging out. I'm I love this.
But literally, this is pretty close to shooting, because nothing would have changed, right? Other than they would have called each other the other names.
Oh, yeah.
And then Obi-Wan would have died at the end,
and then Qui-Gon would have decided to take his name. Also, the most expensive independent movie, so it was awesome.
Yeah. Which also would have been interesting, right? Because you could see and it was always planned that Ewan McGregor's character was going to grow up to be, Alec Guinness's version of Obi-Wan, but to watch that movie and be what's going on here? Because I don't think you would have necessarily pegged Ewan McGregor doing an Obi-Wan impression in episode 1, because that impression doesn't really sink in too much until episode 2 and 3 when he gets a little older. And imagine if you just watch this whole movie just going, all right, well, I guess you could see him maybe growing up to Alex Guinness, and so at the very end he gets chopped by Darth Maul. I'm that would have been an interesting twist in this whole thing.
But it'd be a weird thing to create, because then suddenly actually the Rey Skywalker thing makes more sense, right? It's a thing to take your master's name.
Oh yeah,
that makes
true.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's really funny.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be a weird.
There's something to that actually, in terms of joining a clan, maybe some kind of knighthood or something. It's you might take the crest or whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we got the Salandra show passing on her shield, her light shield. That's good times. I like stuff like that. That's kind of sweet. Oh, right, and the head tattoos, that was cool with Kel Naka.
Yeah, every Padawan and Master has a really interesting relationship, especially for that, the sort of growth and development and sort of the knighthood, right? It's always so interesting.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. it was fascinating because I saw that little tidbit as like a news story, and it was like in one of those like clearly written by AI like whatever things, and I was just like, so I saw the thing, and I'm like, all right, well I'll click on the link to StarWars.com, and then I like even backed my way out of StarWars.com and went to StarWars.com because I'm like, is this, because I was like getting really suspicious, but like that's like a big kind of drop to, and they put it on StarWars.com. It's not even like some other trusted news source. Like possibly it's true. Like nope, yep. They just he said it during an interview and they published it on StarWars.com. Yeah,
darn right. Rad, man. Let's talk about this book. I'm stoked on this. This is Stephen Barnes wrote this. He's an older gentleman. He's 72 as of right now, which is great. But it's not like, I've seen a lot of the writers lately have been these spring chickens, John, coming up, and they've been trying to like look for new talent. No, Stephen Barnes is a legend, and here he is writing a Windu novel, The Glass Abyss.
It writes a lot of sci-fi horror, like, and all of it's not all of it, but most of it's within like the Afrofuturism subgenre. And so like, what a great person to bring in for this, because this book, I will say, we'll get into it, is trippy as hell. And cool. And I had a week and I needed to get through this, and so I did the audiobook, and I was slightly distracted, and here's what I'll say. I love this book. I enjoy this book so much. I could not tell you what happened in this book.
Is it obscured in spider silk and crystals?
Yes. And
mushrooms.
I almost think that makes me enjoy the book more, because it felt like more of like an experience than it was like reading a book. Like
one of Barnes's acknowledgments at the end was like a dream analyst or a dream walker or something like it.
Like, if you thought last week was pretty Dune heavy, we might go even deeper into the.
I know. I wish I kind of had it, because he was like, if you like samurai film, he's like, I definitely borrowed from your Jimbo, and and he's like, if you like John Woo, it's like, I think he called it like hard boiled.
Hard boiled.
You should watch that movie.
Hospital, third act hospital scene is pretty much one of the greatest action set piece moments of all time.
Yeah, it's so good.
But it was a thrill, and it was super trippy, and it was just really well written, and I'm just kind of glad. Like it, I definitely had a moment, and I had to speed read this thing too, but I actually read it with my eyeballs. I just had a moment where I'm like, it's so great to just like as a Star Wars book reader, you get these great Star Wars stories. Like it's a first-rate Star Wars story. It's like really cool, man. I thought he did so much justice to Mace as a character, and has established, and like all my favorite parts about Mace, which is like he's always on that edge of tapping into his hate, but not letting himself fully go there. He was like, I thought they made some really great points, and he, Barnes made it like kind of very easy to see all that. Like he really walked that tightrope well, and described like every line had told a little bit more about Mace Windu, and his various.
When he talks about Obi-Wan taking out Maul, he's like, that showed the Jedi that the Sith have flesh, and flesh can be seared, and bones can be broken. I was like, let's go.
No, it's like a metal book, man. There's a lot of lines like that.
Yeah. Again, we get back on the subject of sort of like ultimate grit. These just awesomely rad stories that are, coming out of the pipeline from Star Wars, and it's usually in the comics, but now it's kind of jumped in the novels with this Mace Windu novel, where it's just like incredibly rock and roll. Like a lot of it, like a lot of it's just awesome. Like it's very cool.
Yeah. Just had a great overall vibe. Yeah. Super trippy rock and roll.
The world building, like Metagos and city and the children's maze and the spider, worms, and all of the world building was so good. And the factions were so good. And just Mace Windu and sort of the underworld, the depths of this planet was super fun. Navigating the sort of.
I felt like 3/4 of the way through, I was like, this would have been an amazing anime, like Princess Mononoke style anime. I'm like, this would have looked so cool.
Yeah, because there's like levels to the city too, where I was like, oh, we're on the 10th level, and like I was kind of imagining Mace like in Vin Vin's Sunfall's Cantina, like But like that sort of like having an overhang and like seeing a lot of ships flying around and like sort of like this little, metropolis underground, like depth system. It was very cool. Like I thought the world building with the city was very cool. And the crystal caverns and the spider worms and all that stuff. It's just the mushrooms with crystals on the mushrooms. I was like, what is going? This is a crazy ecosystem. Loved it.
They also like they allowed Stephen Barnes to like just work like galaxy build too in a way, and even like make some statements that kind of affect how we see the galaxy and see some of the major characters in the galaxy. Like nothing like major, but like there's a line here that I had to like Google this. I just want to read this quick thing. It's like, okay, from page 261. Not so long ago, Republic scientists had announced the discovery of the largest structure in the universe. They call it the Force Web, a network of filaments that connected galaxies across the universe, and hoped that its study would yield valuable information about how galaxies form and evolve. Which is like, that's fascinating. That's just his thing. Like, I just want to make sure that's never mentioned in anything else. Like, that's super cool.
There's a lot. There's a lot that gets divulged in this book that you just simply were not privy to before this book. About the council, about Anakin, about Mace's past, about how he even is reckoning sort of with his role as a Jedi, and which I was like, I'm astounded by that, honestly, because it's like I think this takes place between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And therefore I'm just like, isn't he kind of Jedi King boss at this point? Isn't he like, if he's not Grand Master, he's like basically going to be the next Grand Master?
I thought he was like the chair of the whatever that term is, and then like he was the leader of
Yoda's spot, right? If Yoda was just suddenly passed somehow, like he would take his role, right?
It felt like, I know it's a weird thing. It's like, to get into all academia, there's like the chair of the department, who is like the person who runs the department, which to me is Mace Windu. And there's a chair emeritus, which is a wise old member who still teaches classes and is on the thing, but does not run the program. And to me, that was Yoda, right? Yoda is just always there and able to help like give guidance, but he's not running the day-to-day operations like Mace is.
Mace is definitely doing more of the operations. I agree.
Yeah, totally.
It seems like he's getting action items completed. Right, like out of everybody.
But he doesn't look at himself that way. He's just sort of like, I mean, he's like very proud of his physical prowess, which is funny. But he's like, he like hones his, he loves being a warrior, but he's a very true Jedi. And it's bookended by these recordings from Qui-Gon Jinn. Like there's this whole Dejarik metaphor. I love that he went into Dejarik instead of Sabak. But at one point Qui-Gon's just like, he's like, you gave everything to the Jedi, everything. And it's like, he's like, that's great, but like you deserve to have like a real experience. And it's very in line with Qui-Gon's character. My favorite part of him is that he's like very much about the living Force. Just like, go talk to someone, go find out what their deal is, and you will experience the Force. That's kind of my favorite flavor of it. Like Loden Greatstorm was that kind of G as well. And
totally,
I love that part of it. And so he was looking out for his buddy, and I love that they was like, no, Qui-Gon and Mace were best friends. Like I never thought that or knew that, but I'm like, that's cool.
That was very cool. Yeah,
that is cool. I love it. It makes sense. I feel like they're both kind of like they both have like unique views of the Force and unique views, and they both feel like, although they both work within the system, I feel like they're both somewhat outsiders, right? I think Mace is a bit of an outsider with his kind of Vapod and dark leanings, and even though he's a full Jedi, and I think that probably made them very close because although they don't necessarily see the Force in the same way, they're seen as almost outsiders from everyone else around them. So it makes sense they bond.
I was pretty excited about Vapod being canonized here, because I'm not sure we've heard that necessarily. And he also says it's Form 7, which so he's aligning with the forms again, so that's cool. And it was Juyo, which I do remember as being like sort of the formal name for the form is Juyo, but like in Vapod was an offshoot, highly aggressive and intense form that was perfect for his current mode. So he sort of canonized both sides, but it was nice to hear that for the lightsaber dorks out there.
Well, he knows more than one form, I imagine.
Did you? Too, right? So. I don't want to steal your.
Please do. No, I'll just tag on to it. I know exactly what you're going to say.
The Anakin line.
Oh.
So he connects Vapod to Anakin. He's basically watching Anakin battle, and he goes, whether they liked it or not, this one was walking the path of a pod without the benefit of specific instructions. The level of commitment and creativity was unique. Anyway, but lead us where, Mace whispered. The boy was different. But just this idea, I love that. Like, he sees himself in Anakin, which is also, or at least of a pod in Anakin, which is like also explains why he's so tough on Anakin, because he knows the risk of that, right?
So the shame, like the bummer of this book now, hearing that, is that like, if Mace really was Qui-Gon's best friend, why wouldn't he have asked Mace to raise Anakin? You know?
Mace is almost the perfect master for Anakin Skywalker.
He is. Yeah. He would have made him just like...
Yeah.
Because they would have done the coolest things together without any complaining. It's like, oh no, you definitely do that. I'll definitely do this. And then let's move to the next room. It's like...
Yeah.
Like it would be very cool.
A fully trained
I love
Anakin.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, with
I love
Mace.
Yeah. Obi-Wan is almost like his Padawan would be maybe more like analytical and sort of... I don't know. And, Obi-Wan's also got incredible prowess as a warrior. Like, I think Anakin's also so deadly because he was Obi-Wan's Padawan as well. Like, I feel like...
Yeah, Qui-Gon's, Yeah, I feel like sometimes they do the odd couple matching. I don't know. You know, like more often than not, or just as often as not, it's like they get...
create contrast.
Yeah, it's like a bookworm with a fighter, and like, you know, they put... but I guess... I don't know. You're supposed to be able to choose your own Padawan, but I don't think Qui-Gon chose Obi-Wan.
That's actually the process that I think is the most broken with the Jedi, honestly.
Yeah.
It's sort of matching Master and Padawan and learning styles. Like, it's crazy how broken that feels to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems, it seems rife for things to go bad.
Yeah. I mean, if you chose your own Padawan, like, wouldn't you look for someone that resonates with yourself, that you're like, I can teach this person, and, you know, I can see maybe they're on a similar path that I was on, and I can use my wisdom to sort of help them, you know, in the right direction, or like, I don't know.
Yeah. This is, just to go back to the pod for a second, this is the only appearance in new. It does say appearances in Star Wars Episode 1, Episode 2, and Episode 3, but I think they're just saying
we witnessed it.
They're quoting that because we witnessed
and there's
it.
no
there's
no Vapod mentioning in the High Republic.
No, not according to Wikipedia. Also, though, I would argue I want to go in and edit that it is first appearance is not in Episode 1, because he never lights his lightsaber or does anything in Episode 1 that would show Vapod. So its real first appearance is Episode 2. Actually, its real first appearance is a Glass Abyss sequentially, right? Anyway, I'm just saying, like, I got to go in, and I won't do it on air like I last time I edited Wikipedia, but
it's not like it's not the visual encyclopedia for the Phantom Menace, his description, his lights, any nothing.
No, it just says appearances. There's sources, right? There's sources it comes from, like the character encyclopedia and the visual encyclopedia, but things like that. But in terms of like appearances or mentions in like narrative works, it says Star Wars Episode 1 Phantom Menace, and when you click on it, it's the movie. It's not even like the book, so that's just wrong. Also, it's hard to say it appears. Anyway, whatever.
Well, since we're right here and it's so close to it, can we do a quick lightsaber corner?
Yeah, do it.
Because there was two really great quotes early, very short, but impactful. So one is we get Mace going back into his space, right? It seems like it's pretty open because he can do a bunch of working out in there, but pretty sparse. But he does have a little collection, and it says here Mace stored past lightsaber hilts from the first half-scale weapon he had built in childhood to several models he had shaped over the years, utilizing the kyber crystals, plural, of Ilum that had called to him. His personal designs had evolved, as was tradition. Look at that paragraph, lightsaber dorks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like...
You were kind of just ruminating on that for hours afterwards, no doubt.
Yeah,
just got your pipe on, in the chair, the thinking chair.
Yeah, definitely. My big sweater, my thick sweater. Yeah,
I would like to be there.
Yeah,
okay?
I would like to see that right there. I mean, so first of all, like multiple kyber crystals, like okay, I guess you can get multiples. That makes sense, I guess. And then it's like, it was traditional to change your designs. I mean, we know Obi-Wan did, right? Like he sort of, when he became a master, he upgraded and made a more elegant sort of design to his lightsaber. But I'm like, oh man, can I see that stash of mace hilts? Like that is wild.
Yeah. it's so fascinating, and I kind of like it how unclear the lightsaber stuff is in terms of, and I think a lot of it is just like, it's as important to you as it needs to be as a Jedi, right? Because I always think back to like Ahsoka, where like Ezra is just finally like, all right, I gotta build I guess I do need a lightsaber. Like I'm taking my vows done. I need to go chop some people apart. Let me just throw together a lightsaber in this ship real quick, and just
but it was,
but there's connection,
and it was the greatest lightsaber workshop in the history of lightsabers.
It's awesome.
As like at your disposal. Like, how could you as a Jedi not walk in there and be like, like
right? Yeah.
Like that's what's his
in person, and Mace Windu. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like Hu Yang's workshop, you can like just like pull things together from Hu Yang. Like, please. Yeah, didn't we talk about like, shouldn't there have been a drawer full of kyber crystals? That would have been awesome.
Right? Something.
There were a lot of. He was attuned to the crystals on this planet, though, in the depths. So that was cool.
Yeah. We got Mace in the full thing. Anyways, so one more lightsaber corner thing that broke my heart. For some reason, Stephen Barnes canonized that Qui-Gon's lightsaber is now resting in the archives. Which I was like, why'd you have to go and say that?
He also created a moment that's actually not in the Phantom Menace that should have been, which is Padme Amidala sort of gives him a eulogy while all the Jedi Masters have their lightsabers lit in a circle around Qui-Gon's burning pyre. And like Padme gives a speech, and I was just like, what? This is Stephen Barnes, my man. Like you just like created a scene that's like Charles Soule does this as well, where he'll create these like canon moments that are just not in the canon, like per se. You can't see it. You can only read about it in these novels, but like they're just beautiful scenes essentially that I was like, oh, like that scene is perfect for Qui-Gon. That's like the ultimate send off. Instead, it's like a bunch of weird looks from Palpatine. And it's
I know it's all about Anakin and Palpatine in that moment for the visual. But Ben, I want to go back. So, what's your issue? So they canonized that Qui-Gon's lightsaber ends up in the archives.
My headcanon is that Obi-Wan held on to that. That's why it's sitting behind over my right shoulder here, because I'm like, no, he kept it. So now my headcanon is that when Yoda and Obi-Wan went back to the archives, he was like, yoink.
100%. Yeah, it totally works.
He's like, and that's mine.
And, record messages and stuff. He had time.
Yeah, and we haven't seen enough of we haven't seen all of Obi-Wan's hut in anything, so it totally could be. There could be a little nook with a little shrine. I love it.
Support of that then. Okay.
It also seems like an Obi-Wan move.
Yeah, he'd be like, that's going to be mine.
Turn off a shield generator, take his old master's lightsaber.
Yeah,
I see it.
Right on, man.
I want to say, I think kind of building off something we talked about before, and then we can move on to other stuff. It's just like, so there is that, there are the kind of the bookends, like you mentioned, Ben, with the Obi-Wan, the Qui-Gon. Now I'm all confused about who Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are, but the Qui-Gon, hollow messages, which I love. But the thing too is I love that Yoda is Yoda at the very end of this book, where like he clearly knew what happened and was just like, basically his message is like, you got to continuously choose to be a Jedi, and that means sometimes testing your faith and trying things out, but like you have to be able to leave to be a Jedi. You have to be able to come back, and it's interesting, and I like that more of the stringent, like you are forever, and you don't have a choice, and if you leave, you're gone forever. It's more like, no, it's a continual choice.
Yeah, I wanted to hear what you had to say about that too, Grant. That ending, like Yoda piece.
Yeah. No, I thought that was absolutely perfect, and I love kind of in the middle of the book where it's like we meet Sybil, that one character, and she's like my mate gave me the seed for 500 generations.
Yeah.
But then I ate his head at the end. And Mace Windu was like, oh, cool. Like, you just ate his head after, the mating happened. The brooding happened.
Yeah.
Like Mace Windu is just seeing how the Force operates all over the galaxy. And he's sort of seeing that, like, and then he's reckoning with his Jedi past. And then it's like, you know what? Like, being a Jedi is actually, like, quite good and dutiful and, creating peace and calm throughout the galaxy. And I just love his perspective on being a Jedi throughout the book as well. And yeah, I know he's reckoning it with it in the book, but it's also like it's a choice. It's an everyday choice. It's a minute choice. George constantly said to be good. It's a constant, decision. So
I appreciated that too. They did a lot of coverage of sort of the moral quandary of being a Jedi out in the galaxy, because it's like, why don't you free slaves every time you see slaves? And it's, and they talked about sort of like, well, we have to, like, we can't disrupt an ecology, or we can't disrupt a culture. We can't do that, and they spent a fair bit of time sort of talking about when it's okay for a Jedi to intervene and when it's not okay.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because you got to write that stuff in. It did give me a little bit of vibes of Star Trek Prime Directive stuff, which Prime Directive is basically like you can't affect you can't insert yourself into a non-warp culture, which makes a lot of sense, except when like you see something really horrible happening. Maybe it's okay. Like, hey,
which
I don't know,
he's incapable of doing in this book. Like, if he sees someone being accosted, he immediately intervenes. He's Mace Windu.
Yeah.
And
he feels like the ultimate Jedi.
We got him, ladies and gentlemen.
You got him. Nice. There you go. Sweet.
Hyperspace.
It's a good looking card right there. Star Wars Unlimited, folks. Play it. It's the best.
Yeah. Super cool. But yeah, I love that, like, Mace Windu, like, he believes in this, and I think the big part of this stuff is always this, like, it's not that anyone who follows anything without thought, there's a problem there. And so I like that you have rules, but you're constantly thinking about what those rules mean. And, sometimes you got to break an unjust law, right? Like sometimes that's what you got to do. And I think this is a good example of when, like, he was right to intervene in this situation.
Suddenly Mace understood clearly why this was Jedi business. This sly, complex, and powerful creature was the kind of charismatic leader who could crystallize 1,000 separate groups into a sudden threat. So he's talking about like that was the ultimate sort of rationalization, was taking down Chulak, like how he was this existential threat that needed to be taken care of. And I'm like, oh, okay, was my note to that was okay. I mean, okay, if you say so.
Yeah, I was okay with it, because I'll give you my example, which is it's a little dark for a second, but like I always hear like the Star Trek Prime Directive thing, and I'm like, I get what you're saying, but so you're saying if there was someone who flew past Earth in, say, like 1930 something, and had the ability to stop Hitler, but chose not to do that because it would have been wrong to interfere with our progression, I'm like, can't really get behind your philosophy of not interfering, because you know what? There's several million people that would have appreciated you interfering. So I like that comment of just like, no, this is, because that's basically what he's saying, right? Is basically they had a chance to stop Hitler before Hitler in a way, right? Not that I don't know. Can we, since you said Chulak, can we talk Chulak?
I just wanted to insert an Obi-Wan Kenobi side-eye meme right there where he's like, what, you mean, so I should kill Hitler? And he's just like, yeah, you definitely should do that. And then like had 2 chances to kill Vader and didn't.
The motivations are pretty well established. I mean, like he talks to Kinshan about sort of like she would be threatened, like a lot of people would be threatened if the leaders took over.
Which we see, because he slightly gets involved, and an entire war occurs just because of this person. Like it's just wild.
Yes, Chulak. Chew and Block.
So. Grant, did you listen to this, or did you read this?
Oh, I listened.
Okay, so can we just mention? So Chulak is a thing. Is basically made of 2 people, Chew, or 2 beings, Chew and Locke, and Ben. So the guy, the narrator, who I don't have right now, or the reader, does 2 different voices, and they overlay those voices at the same time. So you hear them both, and it's kind of amazing. And at the end, when they start getting out of sync, they do some like real audio work. With that. It's very
easy audio work of this audio book.
Oh, fun! I didn't even think about that, because I could hear it in my head. I'm like, okay, that's perfect pitch. That's like harmonized. That's like, I'm like, now it's like they're like, oh, it was discordant. And, like, he did.
Right, and that's what they do. Like, it sounds somewhat like weird but soothing when they're in harmony, and then occasionally like one will talk and then the other one will talk, and it's the different voices.
I had a tough time imagining what Chulak looked like. So Chulak is a Farkai and a Rodian smash together at the shoulders. And a Farkai, that's a new creature, or a new race, I guess, species. I don't know what you'd call it. And they're humanoid. We've never seen them before. And this is like one of their things is they smash other people into their bodies and become stronger. This is like something their species does. So great.
And it's their major motivation throughout this entire book is to get a third.
Basically,
which is Mace Windu. And now I'm like trying to picture how Mace Windu would be smashed.
I have a tough enough time imagining two, because they're like they all have 2 arms and 2 legs, so the whole thing has 4 arms and 4 legs. They're attached at the shoulder, but then they're like attached at the torso too. There's like a skin graft affair that like attaches their bodies, and then somehow they can read each other's minds, but their heads aren't connected. It's a lot.
So what I was picturing,
it's hard to imagine is all I'm trying to say. Like,
it is hard to imagine. Chang and Eng, who were conjoined twins in the early 20th century,
here we go.
In the United States, they were part of I can't think of his name. He was touring
Barnum and Bailey's, traveling circus.
And doing a lot of this stuff. And they were conjoined with right around their midsection, a liver that like this mass. And that's why it's so hard to separate them, is because they had major blood vessels connecting them. So I kind of pictured that, like they maybe had one like up by their shoulder and up down there, and they were kind of walking together, which is like, part of me is just like, okay, I can get behind that. I can kind of see that. And then the second thing it was like, talked about adding a third person. To me was like, no. That's madness.
I know. Like, does he sit on their shoulders? Like, do they just put his torso up there? Like, or is it a third? Does he just go on the end of the line? Like, are they like a chorus line of fighters?
Or is he? What's the name of the thing from Total Recall? Is he or is he just in like the stomach? They just put his head in the stomach, like what's the name of the thing in the Total Recall? Well, I can't remember. Would have been great if I got it, but it's not coming to me.
That's moving not clear. On. It's just like too horrifying to think about, and obviously they just move on. But it's like, but also they're giant beings. Which when I think of Rhodians, I think they're kind of slight. And he is like shorter than the Farkai, but like Mace referred to Chulak as being 3 times his weight. And I was like, well, how does that work? So there was a lot of, I don't know. I'd love to see a rendering of Chulak. But he was a really fun, evil antagonist for this story.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. And he was deadly. I mean, he described like Chulak fighting as a wood chipper, like was just like mowed through people. And it was and like even like
very cool big bad character.
And I mean Mace was like, I can't beat this guy, which of course he did with a stick. But
so cool that he's brought like a stick and a blaster to town. He was like, you know what, I'm a rim runner, all right.
And all black and a black cloak, just like with like a staff.
It was cool.
That was a really that would be a fun Black Series action figure of Mace.
That would be.
Chulak was great. So I mean this planet is amazing. Every 3,000 years or so they have a solar flare that sterilizes the surface of the planet, but there are underground caverns of crystals, hence the glass abyss. And 50 years ago they had
did Mace Windu did take part in the Great Heptathlon on Fallish 3.
Yes.
Is that part of his backstory now?
Yeah, he went in as like an anonymous
like
knight.
An Olympian Jedi. I love it.
Yeah. He was an anonymous entrant and like let the winner like lost on purpose just to like see how he'd do. And he did it without like a weird flex, but you know.
That is so cool, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good that was a good bit. Yeah, that was early on. He was talking about just like how like insanely physically fit he was. And I was like,
exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. That checks out.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and all the like combat stuff was really fun.
Oh, the combat action was beautifully written.
Yeah.
Like Stephen Barnes, shout out to just sort of describing how fast Mace Windu is. Like people just die. People like can't recount how he killed people because it happened so quickly and like it's insane.
Yeah.
Insane stuff.
Yeah, and he does patterns, and it's just like how nuanced his fighting style. Like it was almost like he was almost like the Zahn of like martial art of like combat. was like that detailed.
And the sort of like strategy,
Yeah.
internal thoughts process, like Jedi strategy stuff, like battle planning and stuff. Like that was so cool.
Yeah, where he when he fought someone in front of Chulak the first time, he intentionally made it look like he had a weak spot. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's going to be... I mean, there was a lot of Chekhov gun things in this that was like, well, that's going to happen. Even me, that's like usually slow to that sort of stuff. I was like, well, we're going to see that Crystal Palace fall from the sky.
It was kind of a fun, pulpy adventure book to me. Like, just Mace Windu in the sort of the depths of this planet. I loved it. I thought it was just like a really, almost like ultimate beach read level Star Wars.
Yeah. It was very trippy. It was very strange. I was reading this at the same time I was finishing up book 5 of the Wheel of Time, nice. Which are not like the same thing, but very like dealing with weirdness and time and like weird it's a little like I'm like my brain's overly stimulated right now from all this from everything.
Right, like having to realize all of this detail and like this supernatural detail that like doesn't really make much like sense on its face, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, the web, the fungus, the mithril or the
the glass bane.
Yes, which is a real mycelium networks are real things. They're fascinating. Cool. Also a big thing of Star Trek recently. But
Last of Us season 2 coming soon.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
That'll be fun.
Stuff there. Yeah. The largest organism on Earth is a mycelium web. It's huge. It's like hundreds of miles long. I think it's wild. Cool. Yeah.
Is it the Amazon or where is it?
Something like that, I think. I can't remember.
That makes sense.
Don't ask me for facts.
That's what you're here for, Adam.
Yeah. No.
Well, do you want
a
random? So I swear I was listening to everything you're saying. At the same time I fell down a really weird Wikipedia hole. Which let me take you for a bit of a ride here, if you don't mind me changing the subject for a second. So there was the other quote from Yoda that was fascinating about Yoda, where it says Yoda had been slippery about his early days, but rumor had it that one of his early instructors was Nakata del Gormo, said to have been Hysalrian. So I was just like, what does that look like? What is Hysalrian? What do they look like, right? So I went, this is the only appearance in canon, but there is an entry in Legends.
Yoda had a master established in canon.
Grant. Just wait. So under Legends, right? So I clicked on it. It's like a 4-armed snake creature.
As it should be. Hold on. This sounds amazing.
What's that?
This sounds perfect.
Pretty cool looking. But here's the weirdest freaking thing. So I'm like, where does this come from? Like, what story is this from? Okay. This is from Star Wars Galaxies Magazine number 9, which is like from like 1995. And in those, they had a section called Design an Alien. So basically, fans would draw a picture, write in, and tell a story. And if it was published, it was considered canon unless otherwise contradicted. And so Chuck Hamilton, a 23-year-old Star Wars fan in 1993, wrote this in and basically wrote a tiny little story about Yoda and a human crashed on the planet of Hysalrian and met Nakal del Gormo, who trained them in the ways of the Force. So Yoda and the human were later rescued by ships in the Galactic Republic. Yoda went on to become the Grand Master Jedi Order. So basically, this
short story essentially.
Yeah, but this 23-year-old wrote a short story.
Won a contest in a magazine.
Won a contest in a magazine, and now it's been lightly recanonized. This
is for you, Chuck.
Like it's just, and I know, amazing. Like good for you, Chuck Hamilton. And the fascinating thing about it too was originally the planet they crashed on
shreds script.
No, so Grant, it says, but rumor had it that one of his early instructors was Nakata del Gormo.
Yes,
so it's not definitive.
They're not and rumor,
shredded already.
Right. So there's a lot of like, but and the fascinating thing is, so originally it was supposed to be that he crash landed on Dagobah, and these aliens were lived on Dagobah, and then that was the original story, and then episode 3, the novelization episode 3, retracted that because it said that in that book it basically clearly states that that's the first time he went to Dagobah was when he fled. So anyway, but just like I I love Wikipedia for that. I'm just like, well, I wonder what this alien looks like where it's mentioned. And boy, did I never think it would take me down to a fan fiction published in Star Wars.
That
Galaxies
is one of the
magazine
coolest lore drops I think
95.
I've read in a long
That's
time.
very cool.
That's really wild.
There's no way the author of this book knows about it. Like, right?
Yes,
I mean,
he
come
must.
on, there's no way.
I mean,
You think,
it's his
or do you
book.
think, like,
yeah, it's a story group. It's a story group.
was
note,
the story group just
basically.
that it'd be fun if he did this,
yes,
or maybe
110.
no? You know what probably
You're not
was?
giving
Is he was
Steven
just
enough
looking around.
credit.
Oh no!
Here's what
I
I'll
think
say about
Steven
Steve.
could have easily
that would
jumped
be-
at this reference.
This is
Just
why I
feel
want
like-
to interview, or we should get.
just
I
feels
don't know.
like-
Did Megan interview him? I don't think she has.
Stephen
we
Barnes?
We should even. Yeah,
He's a
'cause
legend,
she,
dude.
she's
I
been
don't know if you
interviewing.
talk to our
she's
lowly butts, but I'd try it.
No, but she's been interviewing. Megan's been interviewing a ton of the
Authors, yeah.
Yeah,
a ton of the authors.
She's
So
a Jedi
I want
master.
to we should slip her this
Okay.
question to see if she ends up interviewing her. Be like, can you just ask
About
him
this.
where this one thing came from? Because now I'm wondering if he just was just like, well, I gotta get caught up on Yoda, so I'm just gonna read all of Yoda's Wikipedia page
Yeah.
Right.
on Wikipedia and look at the legends and just clicked on this one.
Right, what year was this? What year was this short story?
1995.
Fan story?
In 1995.
Yeah, let's look at the dark times and let's look at the weird
Yeah.
times when people were passionate about Star Wars when there was no Star Wars. It's and let's look at that material and let's give homage to those people. Let's pay tribute to those
so people were talking about
beautiful thing.
Meg Dowell. She runs Star Wars book reviews on Instagram, and it's a great follow. She's amazing. We've had her on this pod a couple times because she's great. But yeah, maybe we should go on the old Graham-arama or the X, I guess, the Twitter, and drop her a line about that. And if you're listening, maybe ask her about it too, and see if she'll talk to him, because that'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this book's it's only been out a couple weeks now, but yeah. She always gets advanced copies of everything, and reads the stuff.
Yeah, she was talking about this book
Yeah.
weeks ago. Yeah, I was saying
I
it's
think-
crazy.
And she
Yeah.
doesn't do spoilers on her podcast or
No,
on her,
no.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You got some Harun Call kind
yeah.
of mentions in this book too. Him talking about his past and lots of reckoning with that. That was cool because we just read that awesome series by Mark Bernard and the Mace Windu
Oh, right. Yeah.
comic book
Yeah,
series, and there was a lot of Harun Call there and a lot of sort of this shared identity that he had with a certain character and how they both come from Harun Call, and it was cool to see that sort of talked about again in this book. Sort of keeping the canon all threaded together. Mace Windu felt very similarly written between the two pieces. I just think the story group's doing a great job, sort of making sure the galaxy feels like if we're branching into Mace Windu, he feels sane. He feels like a very similar archetype across all the different stories that you're reading him in. And I gotta say, he's one of the most interesting Jedi out there. I would love a young Mace show. There's a lot of discussion of his youth in this book, and then I just wouldn't mind actually going back and seeing all that, because it actually sounded pretty dramatic, and I feel like you could win a lot of hearts and minds sort of doing a Mace Windu show.
Sure.
Try hard
Yeah, I love
Mace
it.
as a teenager. Imagine what a sweaty try hard that kid was.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, to get to the heptathlon, you gotta
the
be
sweatiest.
putting it all in.
Yeah. But I agree. I love. I didn't even think about that connection between the Mark Bernard written comic series and this, and I just love that. We're getting so much Mace Windu lore, and it's all great. It just fits the character perfectly. I feel
perfectly.
Yeah,
Do you think
Great
one-armed
writers for
Mace
the
just
job.
sort of limped back to this planet, New Xenia?
Oh, maybe.
And just was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm just gonna smash and hang out with fungus.
Well, but maybe. Well, that's I love
Wait,
this.
say all that again so I can
No,
record
we're
it. Oh, wait,
recording
wait,
it.
wait.
We are. I love it though because the thesis of this book at the end is that you choose to be a Jedi, and he specifically says at the very end. See, now this is my conspiracy brain says, it says we cannot look them in the eye and swear this path was and is freely chosen. We must be free to walk away or cannot be sure what we choose. And I just love that idea. That's Mace talking about this. And I just love this idea that also includes you can come back, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense. He gets owned. He sees the galaxy fall. He hates it, not hates, but he feels like we failed as Jedi. I need to walk away. You could also have him make the argument of I need to be surrounded by other Jedi to keep myself on the light path. right? Like I play with the dark too much. That if I went vigilante, I know I would fall, right? So
Yeah.
To me, Mace actually just like I don't see a future story with Mace because he got backstabbed, which is like being backstabbed by Anakin was like he didn't see that coming essentially, and so it's like it wasn't a clean fight. We all know Mace could have taken out either of them.
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
yeah. He had
mano a mano.
I mean, he had him on the ropes.
We all know that. And the point
Yeah.
is he can't be around because actually he would just retake the galaxy. So he just
But
can't be
no,
around.
but I don't think
period. That's right.
That's my argument is that he knows himself, and he knows that by retaking the galaxy he might fall to the dark, and so he's just taking himself out of the game. And you get
that's a boring movie.
well,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I mean, I would say let's not do the thing. Oh, New Zaxxas on the planet Metagos. Okay. Because I think this is like I think
Metagos.
I think Barnes gave him a happy ending. Like I agree with that. I think it would just be like, well, everything's in tatters. I don't know where anybody is. I was backstabbed by the chosen one. You know what? I'm out of here. And he goes back. He got married on New Zaxxas. And you know, I could see him just going back and living out the rest of his life happily. Like not a movie, not a thing. But like maybe he's just happily living out the rest of his life there with his wife of some sort. Like I mean, he got married in this book and didn't know it, but till the end. But I love that for him. I love that he found real love and that they had another Jedi was just like, no, I'm just gonna fall in love here. This is fine, and you know maybe get a little action and whatever, which they didn't talk about at all. But you know what happened.
Oh, there was definitely some action in this book. Yeah. Some worming around.
Some trench runs. Sorry, there's the
there was some
G-rated podcast. Right. Sorry, let's keep it.
There were some pretty obvious cuts in this. Like it would just cut to and the next day.
Yeah, they were just like I know, and it was like because it did have a lot of film noir stuff to it too. There was a lot of there were a lot of like sexy female assistants that were just around. I'm trying to think of
even Sunfall, like the droid character that could like basically affect this sort of like noir sort of detective, like investigator.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about Maya 8, 12, and 14?
Yeah.
So I this is like one of the most sophisticated droids I've ever seen or read about in Star Wars. And as in my headcanon, you guys can tell me what yours is, but they're hard-shelled humanoid droids that can project a hologram over that hard shell somewhat. And be different people. Yeah. And they have like a chipset and they can swap in different chips for different jobs, which is kind of interesting. But they're very intelligent and very, very organic actually in the way that they deal with the outside world. And I mean, they were friends, but like I feel like there was a lot of more than friends moments, sexy more than friends moments with this droid.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of weird, like little, sort of like intimate moments that Mace has with certain characters.
What's more Afro-futurist than like falling in love with a droid? Like, it's kind of great,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked the vibe of this book. Like, it just felt so fun. Like, everywhere Mace went, I was like, this is exciting, which is rare. I mean, like, Star Wars always has great characters that you're following, but, like, every moment with Mace, everywhere he goes, just feels fun and interesting, and you're in the best hands, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like there was a third female that he became chummy with somewhere, but Kinshot, that's a second. Like that was that's the one like he ultimately married. And definitely Maya 12, they were very close. I felt like there was another I thought there was another just like village member, but now I can't think of it. So let's just forget I said that. Anyways, that was cool.
That's the other thing. The number of like of side characters in this book is pretty impressive, and they're all like fully formed.
Yep, Vin Sunfall.
Cool new. Yeah. The Zilka.
Yeah, Vin.
Yeah, and the other what is it? Well, there was a harch. That's always fun to see a harch. There's like giant spider creatures, but then there was a Gigorth, Nala, the Gigoran.
Gigoran.
And those are a really cool character. There was one in Rogue One. He's like a fighter, and it's just like they're like, you know, taller than a Wookiee, all white fur with like beady red eyes and like a they're terrifying.
Isn't his name
Nala Fafiti?
Yeah.
No, what's the? Oh no, but the
Oh,
one
I
in
don't know.
Rogue One. It's like Razumov or something. I don't know. I swear it's something.
That
Yeah.
sounds right.
Yeah, but Nala Fafiti was pretty great. Nala,
And then there was like the Mother Web
yep,
character, right? Who's this
giant
like
slug.
mystic, yeah, giant mystic slug, and like the amount of psychic warfare that was happening because
Yeah.
there's like that chapter where all the people were just having nightmares and couldn't sleep, and they basically
Mhm.
didn't allow the other force to sleep for 3 days. I'm like,
Yeesh, yeah, that
yeesh,
was-
like that is, yeah,
A lot of dream stuff too in sleep.
Yep,
Like
yep, yep.
there's just a lot of dream
Yeah.
talk in
Which
this,
again,
and sort of
reading that with book 5 of Wheel of
Yeah.
Time was really messing with me because half of that book is like taking place in Dreamscape.
Right. Yeah, like both super dreamy.
Yeah.
Yeah, those characters were all fantastic. Yeah, he did a lot of good creature pulls. Yeah, they canonized another sort of odd. Well, I'm not even gonna get into it, but yeah, there was a lot of fun things canonized. There was a Jedi Vector kicking around. I think they had one of the like Mandalorians like starships was in there.
They had an N1 starfighter, and they mentioned the fact that it was like he was the person that was fighting against it was just like, you should not be using that atmosphere, and then immediately destroyed it. Like it was introduced and then immediately
right. But
blown
I
up.
think there was one that I think he
oh, you mean like the fire?
well, there was a fire spray that
No,
was that's Boba Fett's.
Oh right, that's their fire spray. But what's the are you talking about the first Mandalorian's first ship?
Yeah,
Razor Crest.
Yeah,
Razor
but it was
Crest,
an
thank you.
HWK 290 light freighter, and I wanted to look at that.
Yeah,
but I thought that
right.
was what Mando's like one officially was, because like the Mando thing, was.
It looks like that. I think it's a different
because it's
model,
from
though.
this period.
It does look like that.
All right, sorry, this is great podcasting right here. Light freighter, nope, it's not. It actually looks like an X-wing, but boxier. It doesn't really have as big wings.
Yeah,
it's like a primitive X-wing. Oh, it's really cool, actually.
It's actually super cool. Yeah, it actually looks like a Battlestar ship.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't even look like
totally.
a Star Wars thing.
Yeah, so after that, I've just got a big grab bag of like things that I loved about this. Do you want me to just start ticking them off, or do you guys have anything sort of story related?
Yeah. Go crazy.
Well, there was a character named Kira Mantooth.
yeah.
That's like, so if
that one stuck out.
Yeah, all I could think of was Dorothy Mantooth was a saint. Yeah, I loved hearing about her and her demise. Kira Mantooth.
Yeah,
like this is West
and
Mantooth.
That was part of that. Yeah. And that was part of the section of the psychic warfare.
Yeah, the dark.
You're in her dream. Yeah,
that is too good.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I had some other stuff. I mean, there was a lot going on about like the power of 2 and the power of 3, and like the duos.
We did that show.
What's that? Yeah, right. Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah, the power of 2. Wow, yeah, I had forgot about that song actually.
Yeah.
Show is like a 5 out of 5, and then that scene happens. You're like, what?
Hey, Star Wars is weird, Adam. That's its pillar.
Yeah, right. That fits in that pillar for sure. Yeah,
this show's incredible. Trust me, it gets better.
Definitely. Wait till season 2.
Ooh.
I lost a lot of friends after that show.
Oh man. Oh yeah. My friend Jackie and my friend Yord.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I don't have much. There's just like I have just like a million highlighted like metal like comments.
Was it? Yeah, the siblings, right? That are all named like one. Siblings 1 through whatever. There's one that like he keeps just killing them, right? Like there's like that running gag in the first like half of the book. Is he the one that he keeps running into, who are just like have a
sibling X?
Have like. Yeah, but he runs through like 3 of them who just keep showing up. Like, I'm sibling 8, and you killed my whatever.
My brother,
like,
my brother, and he's like,
and it was just like, it was
because they're all related, and it's just like
yes,
they're all like, yeah, you killed my brother. It's like, what number are you?
Yeah,
that's such a good bit.
Yeah,
oh my god,
that was pretty great. But yeah, I think there was more. He had a Rey, I'm every Jedi moment.
Yep, he did.
Yeah,
Yep,
had
that's
more.
for sure.
Like
Yep.
he had every Jedi who had ever lived. Their living spirits now joined with the Force. It gave him a gift no creature such as Chulak could ever have. And he sort of like went more into detail of it. It's like this was not his ordinary combat mind protecting him. It was the training itself, the spirits of all the Jedi who had trained and cared for him, who had trusted him with the temple's secrets. But there was also like a bifurcated, like, Mace talking to Mace. It was like this, like, there's just like this theme of two heads are better than one. Yep. Obviously, a very thin metaphor with Chulak, but but in other ways they did that sort of thing in the Xylans, which were all numbered and all related, and then the Maya 12, 14 and 8 were like kind of three of the same people. And I thought they were going to do a thing where like Maya was a god because there was three of her. Like that was, it would just like, so happened there's three of her, but like she could do godlike things because she could really do anything. I don't know. It was a bonkers, like it was like everyone's on mushrooms all the time in a glass palace, and you're like, okay, in a crystal,
literally, yeah,
flying
a floating
castle.
crystal palace,
floating
like,
castle.
It is just a giant mushroom trip. The whole book. I wish cool. I want the anime so bad. It would be really fun. I think that's everything for me, guys. Anything else?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty. I'm looking at my notes. I think I covered all like the lines I wanted to jump to.
I think I got everything.
Yeah, I can't recommend it enough. I feel like we've done we've just covered the like outer eggshell of this book, but it's a great story. It's really like I said, every line goes deeply into who Mace is. And like really just like every line it just gives a little more like paint to the portrait of who this character is in very subtle ways, and it's fun. So if you like Mace, like you will love this.
It looks like Stephen Barnes wrote a prequel novel, which is very cool. It's called The Cestus Deception.
Ooh, all right.
Was
it like expanded universe?
Not sure.
It sounds legendy to me.
It seems like it's written in Star Wars before. Very cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not aware.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All this stuff felt deep while I was doing this. I'm like, oh, this and this, and but you know what? You guys get it. We've talked about so much stuff about this book. Yeah. It was fun. It was a blast.
What does it do kind of new? Did it do anything new for you that you were like, this is fresh?
A lot of that stuff about why Jedi don't free slaves, that was deep, and that was new to me. The way he talked about it, it was like Jedi doing.
I really like Mace's
all of the battle and tactics were new. Like Mace going full guerrilla warfare and like, all right, fight for the side that's losing and then switch sides.
In the underground.
Like, it was like, stuff. I'm like, okay, is that very Jedi? But all right, and
like memorizing the mazes and things like that, where you have to fight people. It was very cool.
But it was cool. Any show where you drop a Jedi on a foreign, like on a planet with a lot of trippy things and like a whole new biome, a whole new ecosystem, and they and Stephen really fleshed it out completely. You learn about the history and the various species that have come and gone. He's talking about this planet in terms of eons. And it's like when you look at these creatures like the web mother and those like spider worms that that run this place, it's a blink of an eye for them. It's like yep, and there's the whole creation's destroyed every 30,000 years, and then it comes back, and you're like, and then it does it again. It's like he's like, who put the underdwellers like down there? And she's like, which time? Like it's
right.
Yeah, it happens all the time to me,
I just like his, like, I know he was reckoning a little bit with his choice to be a Jedi and his role as a Jedi, but it's like, I actually just like his point of view on being a Jedi, and I thought it was nice to have a sort of competent Jedi character who has these complications, but ultimately is like a character of action, which was like so cool. I was like, I just feel like he's sort of a great audience vehicle for the audience in terms of inhabiting a Jedi's shoes and sort of like exploring the galaxy, because I don't think he has some of these basic conflicts that you could easily sort of manufacture with Jedi. It's like he's just a solo mission, first of all. This is
right.
like
You always have
it's just
you
so
always have
cool.
a Padawan or
Yeah.
someone.
You always have a
Always,
Padawan.
yeah.
You always have
No.
these like manufactured issues happening, and it's just like it's just very cool to kind of be like solo mode with Mace Windu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like. I mean, the only reason he got introspective was because the Mother Web was messing with him for the first half of the book. And so he's and like I don't know, it wasn't like he didn't really have any crisis of consciousness. He was just sort of like put off by suddenly he was forced to question his origin, but then it was ultimately revealed to him that yes, what happened is what he was told and what he remembered. And and there was no real conflict there, and he's like, I chose to be a Jedi, and I choose it every day. There's actually a great line like that where he says, "I choose it every damn day."
Every damn. He says "damn" a lot.
He does,
which I appreciate. Yeah,
I love Mace.
Yeah, pretty great. There's also a Living Sea of Gazian reference here for comic book fans. This is where, they made it known that Jedi go here on pilgrimages, and like even in Mace's time, and I was like, wait, so this place is just there, and you could just go there. So, for our listeners, some of you will know, but this is from the comics, and Luke goes there, but you jump into an ocean of fungus, and you can access you can speak to any Jedi. It records all of your thoughts in your whole mind, and so it's like a comprehensive AI interface with like.
It's like ChatGPT.
With mushrooms, and you can go I want to go back and talk to George Washington. Like, okay, sure, you can do that, and he'd be like a living person that would tell you all of his things up until the moment that he jumped into the mushroom thing.
Yeah, I want to talk for a second because I was looking at stuff for a second here about his Legends book, the Cestus Deception. I looked at the cover and I'm like, oh, I remember this book. This book was great.
You have it on the shelf?
No, I don't, because they haven't done the legacy version. But what's fascinating is this is part of, I forgot they did this, like between Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith, they had another multimedia.
I probably read this book, honestly.
They had another multimedia campaign like they're doing now with the High Republic, where this is pre-Clone Wars, the cartoons. They had the Clone Wars like multimedia buzz, and so that's where the original Clone Wars cartoon fit in.
Tartarovsky.
But there's
version?
Also that was part of this whole campaign. There's 7 books. I just want to read the quick title of 7 books because these are all bangers. Shatterpoint, which is a Mace Windu novel, which is
I remember that.
awesome.
Great book.
Legacy of the Jedi, which is really good.
Classic.
The Cestus Deception, which I just remembered. Well, MedStar 1 and MedStar 2 were okay. They're not great. Jedi Trial, which is great, and Yoda Dark Rendezvous, which is also really great.
Can't win them all.
I forgot how good that series was. And there's like
I'm telling you guys, Stephen Barnes
2.
is familiar.
Yeah, they're like battle surgeons and stuff. It's like their
that sounds like the most boring thing I've ever heard in my life.
It was not. They're not. I remember slogging through those.
Star Wars MASH.
Except no comedy. Though I mean, MASH really didn't turn comedy, but also like the Republic Commando game fell in there. Like the Republic Commando, like first book of the Republic Commando. So I'm like, what a glorious time! I forgot about that. When those books came out.
There are some Mando episodes that do feel like MASH. So like, I feel like it could work.
Oh, it would totally work. Yeah.
Adelphi Station.
I remember reading Shatterpoint, and I was like, oh, this is so fun.
Yeah, and they just re-released it in the Legacy, the Essential Legacy collection.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't think. Maybe we'll have to wait and see if they do one for the Cestus Deception.
Yeah,
we can cover that.
Yeah,
I love that title, by the way.
It's a killer.
It's Obi-Wan. It's Obi-Wan focused too. It's an Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan Dooku.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well,
love it.
Yeah. Thanks for blessing us with this, Stephen Barnes. This is another great entry. Yeah, both those books. Maybe we'll check that out. I think at some point we can. I love selectively dipping into Legends and pulling out stories. So
yeah, it's super fun when we did. What's it called before Ahsoka? We did
Heir to the Empire.
Heir to the Empire trilogy.
Yeah,
so
we still should do the Bane trilogy at some point
for sure.
And then
we need to do that because that's kind of like I almost thought Leslie Headland had read some of that stuff because like I was reading that alongside the Acolyte and I was like, oh, it's like she totally is like nailing this dark side stuff that I thought Drew Karpyshyn did such a great job sort of identifying.
I would say Acolyte probably mostly resembles the vibes I got off of the Bane trilogy. Like the overall tenor of like when you're dealing with the dark side. Like that's kind of the like tenor that Karpyshyn had. Rad,
Yep.
man.
Yeah.
Rad. What a great time to be a Star Wars fan. Next week, do you want to talk about the John Williams doc? I don't know. Is that boring? Is that fun?
No, that's a. Are you kidding me?
It's like
I'm
we
looking
only
forward
talk
to
about
it.
John Williams around 4th of July for some reason. Yeah, that doc exists on Disney Plus, and
Well, he probably plays at the Hollywood Bowl around
Yeah.
4th of July. Like,
yeah.
imagine.
I mean, he used
seeing
to
him.
conduct
Oh,
the Pops in Boston forever
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Let's watch it. It's just a movie, right? It's not like a series, right? It's just one
I
doc.
think it's just a feature film doc.
I just want to make sure I'm not walking into like a Beatles Let It Be
like 9
8-hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I totally want to watch it. So that'd be great. Yeah.
10 hours later.
Great.
Let's do the pod, guys.
Grant, how'd you do on the cards? Any? I know you grabbed a mace.
We got Mace Windu. We got Yoda. I can't complain.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Honestly. There's lots more, but there's just I feel like the glare was a little too much for constant displaying of cards. Plus, I wanted to give this book its time. So more Mace Windu. Looking for the showcase Mace Windu. Going to a sealed event on Sunday for Star Wars Unlimited, which is super fun. But yeah, Star Wars Unlimited, Twilight of the Republic just came out. It's a new set. Definitely check it out. It's incredible. The art is incredible. The game is incredible. That's my cool thing for the week.
Love it. All right, guys. Great job, everyone. Thanks very much for listening to us talk about this sick book and all the other Star Wars stuff, man. We're going to talk more about Star Wars next week. So, grab yourself a beverage, saddle up with us, and let's hang out and talk Star Wars on Cantina Chronicles.